Hi everyone, my name is Chelsea Brown and I did my essay on government shutdowns. So first I start with my introduction page and I promise that it gets more graphic as we go on. But this was focused around the 2023 government shutdown or the soon to be government shutdown if Congress does not create a fiscal calendar for the budget. This essay was basically focused on the questions that I had asked myself when I found out that the government was shutting down, such as who's affected, what stays open, what closes, how many shutdowns occurred before this, did they learn from it, and how do they decide what government facilities will stay open. So all of those questions were answered in my essay, along with public trust, ethics, and the pillars, of course. So first I started with my thesis, and the three main points were the effects on society, effects on the economy, and bureaucracy. So the effects on society, it really showed to have great effects on society, especially low-income families, and just people with disabilities, minorities in the United States, because it doesn't only affect the government when the government shuts down, it affects everyone around that. Hundreds of thousands of people are placed on furlough. There are government officials that aren't receiving pay. And then also, Congress still gets paid during this time. So then the effects on the economy, it drastically goes down because people are losing trust in the government to be smart with its money. And that is also spoken about in my essay. And then I also spoke about bureaucracy. And one thing that I noted with the bureaucracy was actually from our textbook called The Watchman Style. And this basically just ensures a smooth and non disruptive form of ruling. And this really just helps keep the shutdown organized and helps people understand more. They are able to get a gist of what the shutdown is going to look like. They have everything laid out for them as to what is going to shut down, how it's going to affect everything, except for, of course, the timeline. So then I moved on to my pillars and the form of ethics. So first for the legitimacy, whoa, the legitimacy pillar. I spoke about how the government has to maintain moral decisions and trust within society because they're shutting down very important businesses such as Wicca, housing assistance, things that people are relying on, and they have to be able to justly identify um, that these acts are legitimate because of the shutdown and that it's not just to harm society. And then I spoke about accountability, which accountability is there to ensure that the public is being kept informed and basically overall that their tax dollars are being used responsibly. So moving on, I have my databases, my most used sources, and my content. Although these are not all lined up perfectly, the graph fit well. So my most used databases were JSTOR, Google Scholar, and then the CBU library database, as well just from our own lectures and the textbook. And then we have The Guardian, which was a journal post, and this showed what a shutdown means and what to expect from it. As well, for the textbook, I used a lot of key terms from there, and then NPR.org, and this showed the economist's point of view. So some advantages and disadvantages of my time writing this were Microsoft Word and Grammarly were extremely helpful. I would say that I'm not a bad writer, but it definitely is very helpful having something to look back on to better my writing and make sure that everything is grammatically correct, and make sure that nothing is a run-on sentence or stuff like that. So, and then some of my disadvantages were a lot of the sources I were finding were outdated or from a very long time ago. So it was very hard to find updated sources that weren't just news articles or sources that can't be used as in a scholarly sense. Another disadvantage I had was Another disadvantage I had, sorry, I paused there for a second. Another disadvantage that I had was again finding those scholarly sources to be able to complete this because it was such a current event that everything that was showing up was just news sources. And then for my conclusion, the essay outlines significant parts of the government shutdown and shows how it affects society rather than only the government. There is an increase, a decrease, pardon me, in the trust in government and their ethics behind the things that they're shutting down, how many people are getting furloughed, and if those people are going to receive pay in a normal amount of time. And thank you. Congratulations on finishing the course.